टेक यूनिवर्सिटी में टेक्निकल इशू बहुत कॉमन। तो एक्चुअली अगर तुम यूट्यूब करोगे तो इस सवाल का जवाब तुम्हें बहुत सारी जगह मिल जाएगा। हमने एटलीस्ट 25 बार दिया हुआ है। एंड आई वुड स्ट्रांगली अर्ज यू आस्क क्वेश्चंस विच आर फार मोर रेलिवेंट टू यू, एंड जो जेन्युइनली मतलब तुमको दिमाग में आते हैं। एंड बिकॉज ये वाले क्वेश्चन इतने कॉमन है ना, दैट यार हमने कैसे शुरू किया था, इट्स अच्छा super common question. And I'm telling you, there are at least 100 podcasts where we've answered this question. And you can sort of, go and take your inspirational lessons from those podcasts. But given we have like 30 odd minutes, I would suggest keep it to far more real questions, जो actually तुम्हारे दिमाग में है, मतलब कि भैया आप engineering कर रहे हैं, MBA करें ना करें, मतलब कोई भी random type questions. We've gone through this journey now almost more than 15 years, and I think जो real questions हैं तुम्हारे दिमाग में आते हैं, and I would rather address those than these standard ones. ये कर चुके हैं, Google कर ले मिल जाएगा.
Sorry for the mic.
सर वी सी कि स्टार्टअप वर्ल्ड बहुत ग्लोरीफाइड है ना, कि वंस दे बिकम सक्सेसफुल, लाइक हु बिकम सक्सेसफुल दे वेरी ग्लोरीफाइड कि फोर्ब्स इतना अंदर इतना या थिंग्स लाइक दैट. हाँ, बट व्हाट इज दैट साइड जो कोई नहीं बोलता.
This is a very relevant question. See, reality, 99% of the startups die and don't see success. Right? So, in 1990 stories कोई नहीं बोलता. And the earlier you realize that, the better it is for you, because ये बहुत major hustle वाली journey है, and बहुत major unlearning वाली journey भी है. I used to manage 200-300 crores of marketing budgets as part of Coke, and from there on to 20 लाख का हमने प्रॉविडेंट फंड डाला था अपना, मतलब जो सेविंग्स थी सारी इनटू द स्टार्टअप. एंड हेंस एवरी पेनी दैट यू आर स्पेंडिंग इज सो क्रिटिकल. तुमको जानना होता है कि यार ये पैसे से क्या होगा, राइट, इससे किसको रीच मिलेगी, कैसे धंधा बढ़ेगा, राइट. लॉट ऑफ अनलर्निंग एज वेल, राइट. आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ दोज आर फार more important but less glorious sides of building a business, right, जिनके बारे में बात कम होती है. And of course fundraising and getting in magazines, right, all of this is talked about, and this comes much later in life and is also rare, right. One should not chase this, one should just chase building a beautiful business, and everything else will follow.
Yeah, so just to edit a bit for your question, सर आपने होरेका इंडस्ट्री में मतलब इतनी कम्पिटिटिव इंडस्ट्री है, ठीक है, उसको क्रैक करना. एंड एट द टाइम, उस टाइम पे जब क्लाउड किचन एग्जिस्ट भी नहीं करते थे, सो व्हाट वाज योर एक हुआ था ना यूरेका मोमेंट कि हाँ भाई ऐसे करना चाहिए, यू शिफ्टेड फ्रॉम अ रेस्टोरेंट टू. तो सर वो थोड़ा प्लीज एक्सप्लेन करना चाहिए.
Yeah, hi, good morning, guys. I don't know if everybody knows me. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Raghav Joshi. I am a co-founder with Rebel Foods. We are one of the world's largest internet restaurants platform. We have brands like Fasos, Behroo's Biryani, Oven Story Pizza, and some other brands. And we have about 400 odd cloud kitchens all over the country, in Indonesia, Dubai, and some of the other places. So coming to this question, yeah, I mean, the first brand that we had was always Fasos, which was a wraps brand. But around 2014-15, we realized that we were opening 200-300 square feet restaurant. But a lot of people who were ordering had never seen our shop, and had never walked in. So we thought that, if people have not seen the shop, why do we need to take a high rental place on the high street? And so we took a bet. We just moved from the ground floor to the first floor, from the front of the building to the back of the building, from the main street to the back street. And that's where our rentals reduced from, let's say, 150-200 rupees per square foot back then to 50 rupees or 40 rupees per square foot. And all the benefit which was coming in cost saving, we could pass it on to the customer. When we did that, so people said कि तुम पागल हो गए हो, कौन अपने दुकान से साइनेज हटाता है, रेस्टोरेंट से अगर आपने साइनेज ही हटा दिया, कस्टमर ही अंदर नहीं आ सकता, तो पॉइंट क्या है. बट वी सॉ दैट ऑलरेडी 80-90% ऑफ द ऑर्डर वर डिलीवरी, and e-commerce had just started in India, so we knew that this is going to be the future. So we just tried that, and 2014 we opened the first cloud kitchen. We are pretty sure that it was the first one in the world. And since then we've opened just those. So that was the sort of the first eureka moment for us, and it worked. And then when we went into the kitchen, we thought that अब हमें सिर्फ एक brand पे restrict करने की क्या ज़रूरत है? You know, we had one brand, and we could add one more brand. So Fasos was there. We added Behroo's Biryani in 2016, then added Oven Story Pizza in 2017, so that in the same kitchen multiple brands can operate, which you actually can't do on the high street, right? आप एक Domino's Pizza के restaurant पे आप एक Ekdam Biryani, which is Jubilant Foodworks का biryani brand, you can't put that. Customers will get confused. So that was something that we could actually do in a cloud kitchen model where multiple brands could operate together. So that was the second eureka moment, and the reason for that was we realized that in food, varieties in cuisine is also very important. If you've had a pizza today, it's very unlikely that you will have a pizza again after a week, right? So you will need something else. So having a biryani option increases our chance of getting your order again after a week. And similarly, if you have other cuisines like burgers and sandwiches and all of those. So in that sense, we are like a movie business where you will visit the hall again when the movie changes. You will not visit the hall again for the same movie, right?
So they say that the money is always made in the future, that you think ahead and you do execute right, you make money more than any other person. So what would you say about that, कि how to predict the future? कि अगर मेरे को देखना है आज कि आज से 10 साल बाद what will be a $1 billion industry? हाँ, तो how would you say कि हाँ these are some factors or some traits that you can choose to?
Yeah, so I will divide this into two parts, right? One is being able to look into future, and second, more importantly, is how do you figure out what business you should be in? Right? I think from a looking into future perspective, the more you become a student of how humans operate and evolve, how do they communicate, how do they satisfy themselves, what are the core human truths of from greed to consumption to jealousy to all of these are core human truths to love, right? How are they evolving, right? How are people expressing themselves? How are their needs evolving, right? How are the way they connect with each other evolving? And then imagine a world where as technology continues to sort of drive some of us, right? How will these things evolve, right? We are seeing early stages of AI coming into picture, right? But now you just start imagining कि यार आज ChatGPT is just answering questions, and will it be able to actually communicate with your thoughts probably 10 years down the line, right? Just imagine things of what exists today, how we operate as humans today, right? How will we evolve, right? And in that apply a filter of efficiency, right? Entropy का concept है ना कि मतलब you always try to sort of minimize energy. That's what humans will always try to do. And we will always try to reduce the amount of energy that we require to do X. Right? Activities will still remain the same. Right? We will still connect. We will still have social connections. Right? जो 15 साल पहले you had to sort of step out, or make a call to get that social connection going. You do it on WhatsApp. You're able to see the same things. The inherent need is the same. It is connect. Right? But the way you're connecting has changed. Right? Similarly, because of technology, some of that will continue to evolve. Right? And if you're able to see some of that, right, you'll be able to forecast some bit of future. Right? But from a perspective of what business you should be in, right, I think it's a combination of 3-4 things. Right? One, what is the problem that is worth solving for people? Two, do you feel passionate about that area? And three, do you think it can be solved in a way which is far more efficient than the way it has been solved for? And four, can you make money doing that? something which lies at the intersection of these four circles, right, is how you should think about what business you should be in. And it's very important, not just that the problem is large, but more importantly, you should feel passionately about it. And if he felt passionately for food, or I felt passionately for solving something, for personal care with kids, or FMCG and disrupting that consumer industry in general, right? I think that's what takes you forward through the ups and downs of the area, right? And some problems might be worth solving, but you can't make money in it, and hence might not be great business models to sort of build.
So, sir, just to follow up on this part, so generally, sir, we've seen that as the trend is evolving, a lot of students are starting new companies. All right. So, sir, what would you recommend that should students, because this is a dilemma with a lot of us, all right, including me, that should we start a company at an early age, like 21, 22, or should we season out in the industry? Should we learn from job and then start something? So,
I don't think there is a silver bullet answer to this, right? See, when you're starting early, right, you really have nothing to lose, right? And hence you can take far bigger risks, right? And also remember that this is a 30-35 year long career journey that you're going to have, right? तो हो सकता है आप जो पहला शुरू करो succeeds, right? The good thing is, even if it fails, right, you've got the power of this amazing institution behind you, right? You've got a great education going for you, right? And that will make sure that even if it fails, right, it's positive experience. You can get into the corporate world, right? You can start working again, right? And you can again, think of doing something at the right stage when you feel strongly about something, right? But just don't do this just because everyone else is doing it. Right? Know who you are, know what drives you, right? Know that you are in that right frame of mind where you can take that risk and build something, right? And then take that call. Right? But वो call ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब एक बार ले लिया तो उसको बदल नहीं सकते हैं. It's a long journey. Right? उसमें different तरीके से shape up होगी वो, right? And सबकी अपने अपने तरीके से shape up होगी. Right? तो that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, very similar. Don't try to become an entrepreneur because you want to become an entrepreneur. Think about becoming an entrepreneur because there is a problem to solve, the market is large, and the opportunity exists today. Right? A lot of times there will be an idea that you have, but it's ahead of its time. Maybe it's better that you wait right now, learn more about it, and at the right time, you start. I'm sure a lot of you feel this about engineering also. पापा मैंने कहा था engineering करनी है, तो फिर exam दे दिया और आ गए यहाँ पे. And अब realize हो रहा है कि यार, this is not what you were meant to do. The core engineering. So I think we have our lessons learned there. So think about if you want to do entrepreneurship, if you want to start something great, think about what problem you want to solve, which is large and which, as Varun also said, you are passionate about. There will be a lot of problems out there, world hunger, that is a big problem, but you are not very passionate about right now in your career. Is it something in tech? Is it something else that you are very passionate about? Keep learning about that, and at the right time you will know. Your heart will tell you that this is the time. Even if wherever you are, like Varun was, in Coke and other organizations at a very high stature, but you will know that this is the time, this is the moment. The time aa gaya, this is my calling. So you will get to know. You will not need him or me or anybody else to tell you. This is the time to go for it now. You'll just know when it happens.
Shashank.
So they say कि this is a question relevant to both of you. They say कि D2C में तो धंधा नहीं मतलब brand बनता है. हाँ आपको offline transition करना ही पड़ता है. तो what are your thoughts about both of you?
Also, see, finally, for example, we are in the business of building brands, right? And brands are built in the mind of consumers. They are not built in D2C or offline or on TV. Right? Brands दिमाग में बनते हैं लोगों के. Right? It's an intangible idea. Right? It's not a physical idea. Right? What a Behroz stands for or what a Mama Earth stands for, right, is what it stands for in your mind. And that's what we have built finally. And now, nothing else is what you should be married to. Right? Everything else should be decided by what is the consumer consuming, right? Where are they consuming content? Where are they buying the category? And किसी भी धंधे में हो आप, and आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि consumer जो है वो सबसे ज़्यादा लो फ्रिक्शन के साथ, right? अगर इंस्टाग्राम पे इन्फ्लुएंसर्स के वीडियो देख के जो है कंज्यूम कर रहा है कंटेंट, right? तो उसके थ्रू अपनी स्टोरी सुनाओ, right? अगर आप में से how many of you watch TV? Right, about 10% of you, right? And now, okay, the people who had raised hands, keep the hands raised. Right? How many of you watch the regular channels like Sony, Star, Bharat, etc.? Wow. Ekta said hi. No, but guys. So this is how things have changed, right? I mean, 15 years ago, you would ask the room the same question, right? You would have at least 50% or more hands up. Right? Things have changed now, right? People are consuming OTT, people are consuming content on their personal screen, which is their phone, right? And knowing that that shift has happened, right? You build brand through that shift. Right? So it is not about D2C, it is not about offline, it is about knowing where your consumer is consuming content and where are they willing to shop your category. Right? And basis that, you need to keep evolving and keep providing your communication and your product, right, in the right channels. Right? So I don't think one should get married to कि D2C में brand बनता है, offline में धंधा बनता है. Very fair, by the way, and because D2C is a great way for young brands to build a brand. Right? 15 साल पहले अगर आप एक young brand थे, the way you would need to do marketing, right? Minimum ticket size of marketing was so expensive, right? TV पे ad करना जो है मतलब 8 करोड़ का एक minimum campaign आता है, and आपको print में ad डालना है मतलब 1 करोड़ की एक minimum ad आएगी, and और आपको कोई idea ही नहीं है कि वो ठीक बंदे को पहुंच रही नहीं है, and you might put it in print, right? But your consumer is someone who does not read the newspaper and your money is waste, right? Digital now allows you to be far more targeted, right? आप 1000 रुपए per day से budget से campaign चला सकते हो. You can actually reach out to relevant people, see how they are responding, read their comments, and basis that evolve आपको next कहाँ जाना चाहिए, right? So I think keeping consumer at the heart, right, or your customer at the heart of what you're doing is far more important than getting lured by some of these jargons.
Yeah, I think Varun has said it really well. I would just add that building the brand essentially from a financial perspective would be what is the cheapest way in which you can acquire a new customer and what is the cheapest way in which you can retain that customer. And when the latter part is, obviously the customer needs to have a great experience, would love the product so much that next time they don't even need to see an ad to come back to you, right? And I can give you one example there. In our industry, Swiggy and Zomato, are the biggest aggregators, right? So the cheapest way always to get a new customer for, let's say, Oven Story Pizza is through Swiggy or Zomato. Perform performance marketing, invest in that. It will give you far better returns than putting an ad. But that is more short term, because end of the day that customer will get attached to Swiggy also as much as your brand. But if the customer really likes your brand and you have the customer falling in love for it, then the customer can move to a D2C platform also. And one thing that we realized with Swiggy was that when Swiggy was delivering pizzas for us, the delivery boys would carry those bags, the sling bags in which the pizza would become vertical. So by the time it reaches the customer, the pizza pura smash ho jata tha. So now we have moved from both Zomato and from Swiggy onto deliveries through our platform only, and we know that it works for Domino's because Domino's does all the deliveries themselves, even if the order is coming from Swiggy or Zomato, because that experience really matters. Getting the pizza in 30 minutes, flat and hot. So we can keep getting more and more new customers, but till the time those customers get converted into repeat, the brand will really not get built. So find the cheapest way to get new customers and the most efficient way to convert them into repeat customers. That is how it will get built.
So this is Sir, this is one question for Mr. Raghav. I mean, both of you can answer, but this is particularly for Mr. Raghav Joshi. Sir, you've recently launched Rebel, like you launched Rebel Launcher, and you acquire, there are a lot of brands like Wendy's, MOD, etc. So, sir, my first question is, how do you, approach these brands? That what is like you're providing a cloud kitchen whole operating system. So how do you approach them, and how do you acquire them? Because you're a startup. Being a startup, usually brands are resistant to go with a startup. So could you?
Yeah, so basically, earlier in the session I spoke about the first two moments, eureka moments for us, which was moving from a restaurant to a cloud, and then within cloud, multiple brands. The third moment for us was that we realized that customers typically want about 25 odd cuisines to order from in the entire year, right? There are a lot of cuisines out there: North Indian, South Indian, pizza, biryani, ice cream, etc., etc. And then there are Japanese and Korean also, but they are not amongst those top 25 that customers typically order from. We realized that if in a kitchen we can have those 25 cuisines, then mostly everything that the customer wants, we can have it there and get it serviced quickly. And we can actually have customers order a Chinese starter, a main course which is North Indian, and an ice cream from 3 different brands in one single order. And that's the kind of group ordering proposition that we are building. Now to do that, we need 25 different brands, each focused on one of these cuisines in the same kitchen. And we can build all of those brands ourselves, but it's going to take time. Behrouz, the work started in 2015 and it took 5-6 years to make it into a respectable brand. It requires you to get the product right, get it tested in a couple of markets, customers give you a lot of feedback, you work on it, you find the right vendors, then you scale it up. And in something which has to go in 350 kitchens and the same chicken biryani has to be made exactly the same everywhere, a lot of hard work has to go in terms of back-ending the product, scalability, getting the seasonings right, etc. So we realized that we can't build all these 25 brands ourselves. And then we started approaching brands where an entrepreneur, for example, has spent his last few years really being passionate about a particular category. For example, there is this coffee brand called Slay Coffee, and there is this chocolates brand called Smooth Chocolates in South. The entrepreneurs, Chaitanya from Slay and Vimal from Smooth, they've spent last 7-8 years, just obsessing over coffee and chocolates respectively. And we knew that these are important categories for us to get into. So instead of building the brands ourselves, we worked with them, invested in their companies, and now those brands are there in all of our kitchens. So we realized that it's not necessary for us to build everything when you already have passionate entrepreneurs all over the country, the local jewels in one city or the other who've really cracked it, working on that day and night. So that's the third eureka moment we had, that instead of starting all the brands ourselves, why don't we work with entrepreneurs? And that's how Rebel Launcher got started.
So the Bania part inside me is nitpicking me कि sir bootstrapped या funded.
Yeah, matlab, if you can scale and build a large business in a bootstrap manner, great, you will own 100% of the business. Right? But I think the big difference between how founders are building their businesses now and how promoters used to build their businesses 15-20 years back, right, is just the sheer ambition and vision being very different. Right? We wanted big and we wanted fast. Right? And when you want it big and you want it fast, and then that whole journey, and which is the journey of blitzscaling the same business, which ideally should have built in 20 years. I mean, before Mama Earth is the fastest 1,000 crore brand in the country in the history of India. And before that, the last brand to hit 1,000 crores was Dove, and by Unilever. And it took 17 years for them to hit it with the muscle of HUL and 10 million stores distribution, and they know the shit, right? And the brand was global, right? But if you have to do it in 6 years, right, then you will need to take a lot of risks. You will need to double down on a lot of areas where you're seeing opportunities, right? And the cost of those risks sometimes, because आप 10 काम करोगे, 3 चलेंगे, 7 fail भी हो जाएंगे, and there is capital associated with each of those failed experiments, right? And external capital and raising external capital, right, just allows you to take that risk, right? And hence fundraising should be done with a certain objective. Right? You should first raise to do your PMF. If that cannot be done in a bootstrap manner, अगर bootstrap manner में आप PMF कर सकते हो, great. Right? Then you should raise for growth, right? Again, if your industry does not have levers where you will put in capital or more people, right, and you will be able to see sudden growth, right? Then probably going again, continuing in the bootstrap manner is great. But if there are levers in which capital, resources, people being put in can take you to your goal faster, right, then raise growth capital, right, and so on and so forth. Right? Yes, right, for scaling. Right? In certain cases, for example, if someone had to build the biggest AI product in the world, which is what ChatGPT is, right? For 5 years, you have to be in stealth mode, right? And for 5 years, you need the best engineers, the best, data scientists to actually work with you on that. Right? Now, probably someone like Elon Musk who had a lot of money from earlier startups can still bootstrap that, but most of us can't. And most of us will need external capital and backing to bring that vision to fruition. And when it comes to fruition, it just goes crazy. So there are, depending upon the industry that you choose, the business that you choose, and what it is in, your levels at what you should raise funds for and why you should raise funds can be different. But there are both kind of businesses, right, which are built really well. And capital is an important part of the business. And at all points of time in your long-term journey, you will need to raise capital. And there is startup equity capital, but there is also debt which large businesses raise. Right? And Adani, which is one of the largest businesses, is being talked about right now, is currently on a $30 billion debt that they have sort of consumed. Right? So businesses can take debt from multiple sources, capital from multiple sources. It's a part of running a business. Right? At what stage and scale and purpose is what you need to decide as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, again, I think Varun has put it really well, not leaving much for me to really add on to it. But, again, in the same manner, it depends on what your ambition is and how fast do you want to go for it. And I can tell you one book that you should read on this, which is the Nike founder's book called Shoe Dog. How many of you have read it? Okay, so if entrepreneurship interests you, one, you should watch this Steve Jobs speech from Stanford 2005. I'm sure many of you have seen it, but watch that one and read this book. Phil Knight, who's the founder of Nike, today still owns 98% of the company, having started it in 1972. And he built it in the way that Varun was also describing as one of the alternatives, which is always taking on debt, always putting the company really at the brink, where he had to sell X number of shoes in the next 1 week to pay off his debt and get the next debt funding in. But that's how he built it. It took 30, 40, 50 years, but he owns 98% today. But then, somebody else might have an ambition that I want to build a company as big, but not in the next 50 years, right? I want to build it in the next 10 years and, reap the rewards myself as well. So it really depends on how you want to go for it. When you have external investors, then also the expectations of those investors come in that have to be managed. That versus how you think about the business, all of those things come into relevance. I think it's a question which can be parked for later. Right now, just focus on finding what you really want to do and how do you want to solve for it.